Djurs Sommerland, located in Nimtofte, Denmark, is one of my favorite theme parks I had the chance to visit in Europe. Part of the reason was because of the park's atmosphere and energetic staff, part of the reason was because of the fast operations and overall upkeep of the park, and the largest reason was for the roller coaster lineup. With 8 coasters ranging from tame to extreme, Djurs Sommerland has something that every member of the family will be able to enjoy. Thrill seekers like myself will get a kick out of the park's intimate trio, which make for an exceptional top 3 lineup. Now before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Thors. This is not a coaster, but it is a pretty incredible pendulum ride. If it were to be included on this list, it would most likely place in the top 3, which as you'll find out later is a true testament to how fun it is. I'd highly recommend giving that thing a ride if you visit this park. Otherwise, all I did here ride-wise were the 8 different coasters, including re-rides on many of my favorites. I definitely think I have a good enough feel to make a pretty accurate list out of this, so here's how I rank every roller coaster at Djurs Sommerland. Starting off this list is Jungle Rally, the park's smallest coaster and one of the few easy enough to pronounce. This is the Zero Force Zero model, which consists of a simple oval shape on a very smooth track. While the layout is rather uninspired, I get why they chose it due to its tiny footprint, plus at least they took the time to give it some theming and make it look good in the Wild Asia section of the park. Number 7. Vidahunziat. This is a larger Zero coaster that caters more towards families and was even enjoyable for myself. Once again, the ride is very smooth and is nicely presented, plus I love the front cart with the fox hunting a chicken. If you aren't quite ready for the park's bigger coasters but aren't content with something like a kiddie coaster, this and the upcoming Thors Hammer are your best bet. Number 6. T-Rex Family Coaster. The park's newest roller coaster is located way in the back of the park in this cool area themed to dinosaurs that just opened this year. When they added this in, I remember wondering what purpose it served in the lineup because Djurs Sommerland already has its fair share of family coasters. But as it turns out, this park has a large family demographic, so now I better understand the addition. The ride is equipped with a fun twisty layout and really cool onboard audio that kind of syncs up to the coaster's elements. Admittedly, it's not the most thrilling ride, but it certainly is fun and I think it was a good move for the park. Number 5. Thors Hammer. This Gerstlauer bobsled coaster is an exact clone of the original Gerstlauer coaster Gesandte Sau at Tripsdrill in Germany. Now you'd think that the original layout would be generic and uninspired, but both Gesandte Sau and Thors Hammer are dang good family coasters. Neither are all too rough, both have unique layouts, and they're just generally enjoyable. You've got your hairpin turns like a traditional Wild Mouse, but also some helixes, airtime hills, and quick transitions. Now I mentioned that Thors Hammer is not as generic and rough as you'd think for being the original Gerstlauer layout, and that's because it's not. However, there are still many more rides like this that do more with the bobsled coaster model and are therefore better rides. Thors Hammer does have a little bit of a shuffle, and that's probably my biggest gripe with the ride because when these things are smooth, they're really awesome. That likely would have been enough to elevate Thors Hammer to number 4 on this list, as these 2 spots are really tight together. Number 4. Skatoun. This mock water coaster was an original layout when it opened in 2011, but there have since been 2 exact replicas that have opened in Australia and Malaysia. This is a primary example of a short and simple ride that still packs in some fun elements. As you roll out of the station, you start with some really impressive theming and even an animatronic octopus. Then you rise up your lift hill and experience 2 big drops, one swooping to the right and one straight drop with some pretty funky profiling. Then you hit a speed hill and splash into a pool of water, concluding the ride. There's no doubt that this thing is short, but it's very smooth and very well themed, which is why I actually prefer something like Skatoun to Poseidon at Europa Park. That said, the top 3 at Djurs Sommerland is really where we pick up the pace. All of these are freaking awesome. Number 3. Dao Kong. My apologies if I'm not pronouncing these coasters properly. Danish is a hard language and you guys make some crazy sounds. Anyways, this coaster is the most recent of the 3 Intimins at the park, opening in 2017. The ride makes a bold first impression when you get to the park entrance, and I could definitely say that it lives up to its imposing stature. You start with a surprise launch out of the station with an incredibly thematic sequence including music and flashing lights. Then you kind of go through a few turns and that's when you hit your lift hill. This is the first part that you can see from off-ride. The rest of the coaster is surprisingly intense for a suspended family coaster model, and it does a terrific job maintaining its speed. My 2 favorite things about the layout are how it narrowly misses these buildings a couple times, and also how it has these weird track configurations that are really fun. If there is one big knock I can give to Dao Kong, it's that it's not as smooth as it looks. It might even be the shakiest ride in the park, which is weird for a 2017 Intimate. It's not what I would expect. That said, it's something I'm easily willing to look past because I loved just about everything else about Dao Kong. Number 2. Yuvelan. Listen to these stats, probably around 30 feet tall and 53 miles per hour. This max speed is hit during that second launch, and from that point on, you are absolutely flying. I was in disbelief by how fast we were taking some of these elements that were already so low to the ground. In general, I think the Intamin family tire launch model is just a guilty pleasure of mine. I seem to like Wavebreaker at SeaWorld San Antonio better than most people, and I absolutely adore the more intense Yuvelan. I'm sure you can imagine my excitement now that we're getting one of these in my home park, SeaWorld San Diego. Oh, and also, they decked out this ride with the coolest station ever. It's like this ancient pyramid or something, and the ride-ups are all screaming at you when you dispatch telling you that you need to escape. Then there's this little pre-show section before the actual ride starts, and it is so theatrical. Like, it's one thing to have an awesome layout, but to go out of your way to theme it when nobody would have had a problem if they didn't is exactly what I love about Djurs Sommerland. And onwards to number 1, let's talk about Piraten. This is an incredible ride for its size. You know how everyone always talks about Maverick at Cedar Point and how it does so much for such a small size? Well, this coaster Piraten is also just 100 feet tall, and it packs in some of the punchiest ejector airtime I've maybe ever experienced. This thing feels like a bucking bronco, and at no point in the layout does it give you a chance to catch your breath. Objectively, I do think this is the best roller coaster in Denmark, even though my personal favorite is Tornado at Bakken due to the ridiculous boost mode rides I got on it. But there's no doubt that Piraten is a crowd pleaser and something you're gonna want to experience if you make it out to Denmark. With that being said, that's how I rank all 8 roller coasters at this absolutely fantastic amusement park. Djurs Sommerland is a place I'd recommend to everyone taking a park trip through Europe. This place has great rides and great vibes, which is why ultimately it is my favorite park in the country. If you enjoyed my ranking, feel free to give me a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future videos like this one. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.